ready for stardom?
No, it comes with the territory, but that's not where the satisfaction comes.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 before they were famous interviews.
Warped Tour 2005, just before a giant-ass storm that'll probably hit sometime during this interview. I have Paramore, I've got Haley, I got Jason. Thank you so much for taking the time out.
For this list, we'll be looking at interviews done by big-time actors, musicians, and famous folks before they were household names. Who seems most different from who they are today? And which celeb hasn't really changed? Let us know in the comments. Number 10, George Clooney.
I heard I was going to be on the show today, and I went out and I got a special shirt.
You really look like your dad.
I do.
In 2018, George Clooney received the Lifetime Achievement Award from the American Film Institute. However, back in 1985, he was mostly known as George Burnett on The Facts of Life, and more famous for being Rosemary Clooney's nephew than for his own work.
I was raised in a tiny little town, Augusta, Kentucky, with 1,500 people.
It was this cute, mulleted Clooney who appeared on The Merv Griffin Show to chat with Merv and charm the audience with his infectious smile and brand new shirt. In the interview, Clooney talks about coming out to LA from Kentucky and discovering the phony side of the business, including meeting lots of fake producers.
It took me forever to figure out that it could be very phony out here.
He did meet some real producers, though, although at that point, he was still 9 years away from his big break on ER.
And he goes, "Hi, I'm the head of casting for ABC," and I went, "Yeah, you get out of here." And it was.
Number 9, Linkin Park. In October 2000, Linkin Park released their debut album, Hybrid Theory, and went from a struggling and relatively unknown California alt-rock band to one of the most popular bands in the country.
We don't want people to listen to our song and go, okay, this is the hip-hop part, okay, that's the rock influence. We don't want to be rock/rap. We want to be Hybrid Theory.
Previously known as Zero and Hybrid Theory, the band eventually changed their name to Linkin Park, probably around the time when they did this interview. The group had struggled to get a record deal, but as you can hear in the interview, they were persistent and didn't give up.
You need to live it, you need to eat it, sleep it, wake up, and the only way you're ever even going to have a chance to make it in this business is if you are willing to sacrifice everything.
And given that a VH1 poll voted them the greatest artist of the 2000s, that hard work certainly paid off. Number 8, Julia Roberts. It's hard to imagine anyone not wanting to cast Julia Roberts, but that was the case back in 1989 when Disney and Gary Marshall were casting the role of Vivian Ward in Pretty Woman.
I really consider myself a bombshell. I think if people were going to describe Daisy in a word, they'd say, she's hot. And maybe if they were going to describe me in a word, they'd say, she's nice.
At the time, Steel Magnolias had yet to be released, so her only credit of any significance was the 1988 film Mystic Pizza.
I saw where you said Daisy made you feel as if you could try anything. Why?
Because she's really full of fire and full of spice and doesn't really think about what she's going to do and say before she does it.
It was actually to promote that very movie that Roberts found herself being interviewed by Bryant Gumbel on the Today Show in 1988. And while she's very humble in the interview, in just 3 years, she would become one of the biggest stars in Hollywood and on the cover of People magazine's Most Beautiful 1991 issue.
Feeling of a free-for-all, and I could do and say what I wanted to. My car! And if I was, questioned, I'm acting. Sorry.
Number 7, Drake. Drake once told us, as he jumped out of a slow-moving white Bentley convertible, that he started from the bottom, living in his mama's house.
Now, you're looking for a record label. Any success with that?
It's been good so far. Definitely. I could have had a record deal already. I'm just looking for the right situation.
Which is where this interview took place, back before Drake had found a record label and when he was better known as Degrassi, the Next Generation actor Aubrey Graham.
Degrassi was a stepping stone, it was why people saw my face, and maybe they were even eager to hate, even eager to be like, yo, this dude has a MySpace, I just want to hear how whack it is.
Yeah.
Yet, sitting on a couch just feet away from his bedroom, Drake definitely wasn't lacking in swag or confidence.
My label actually is called October's Own, and I run it with two partners. It's Oliver El-Khatib and Noah Shabib, who goes by 4040.
Guess he knew, even then, that it was all God's plan.
Yeah, I mean, I've had meetings with everybody. You know, I've had meetings with Interscope. I've had talks with Universal Motown, Rockefeller Records, Def Jam.
The question is, though, did God have any knowledge that Drake's mega success would provide the world with the Hotline Bling dance? Because if so, we just want to say thank you.
Maybe corporate America doesn't get it yet, and the record labels don't get it, but definitely I think the people really appreciate it, you know?
Number 6, Brad Pitt. Remember that Fox show, Glory Days, that was canceled after only 6 episodes? Don't feel bad. Most people don't.
They're the best of friends at the best time of their lives.
I don't know what I'd do without you guys.
These will always be remembered as their glory days.
Of the people who do remember it, though, we're pretty sure Brad Pitt is one of them, since it was a show he starred in.
Did you always want to grow up and be? No, I had no idea really, because I grew up in Missouri. And that's not really an option there, you know?
It was also the reason E! did their first ever interview with the uber attractive yet relatively unknown actor back in 1990.
Yeah.
Plans what to do?
Yeah, I'm gonna be a truck driver. I'm gonna get a semi and drive trucks. He thinks I'm joking.
Pitt is charismatic, engaging, and playful in the interview. All the characteristics he would bring, along with his cowboy hat and chiseled abs, to his star-making performance in Thelma and Louise the following year.
Ladies, gentlemen, let's see who wins the prize for keeping their cool.
Number 5, Nirvana. This relaxed chat with Nirvana took place in 1990, the year after the release of their first album, Bleach.
So how was touring then?
Beautiful.
Big crowds?
Huge. Stadiums, stage dive.
While the record was well received, it wasn't a hit by any means. As they sat around in the interview, talking about their rock influences, little did they know that they themselves were only a year or so away from becoming one of the greatest musical influences of their generation.
So how did you get into punk rock?
Well,
Being in this small, isolated town.
I read Circus Magazine when I was in 6th grade. I thought punk rock was really cool. Just by following the Sex Pistols.
With the release of Nevermind came the smell of teen spirit and the smell of success, fame, and cemented a place in the hearts of a grunge generation. Number 4, Justin Bieber. Before the days of Sorry and Peaches, Justin Bieber was a cute 15-year-old kid singing on YouTube, who was discovered and signed by R&B superstar Usher.
After I put the videos on YouTube, this one manager found me. He flew me out to Atlanta. I was going to the studio and I met Usher randomly. And so I ran up to him. I was like, Usher, I love your songs.
That's actually around the time when WatchMojo caught up with him, all the way back in 2009.
I was in a singing competition just for fun. And my friends and family that couldn't make it, they wanted to be there, but they couldn't. So I put videos of the competition on YouTube. And just for them, and it just kind of blew up.
Yes, it was our very own Rebecca Brayton who interviewed the Biebs over a decade ago, before he released his first album and went from getting millions of views on YouTube to selling millions of albums.
So when did you start performing?
Basically, I was always singing around the house. It was a kind of thing that I just loved to do. I always played a lot of different instruments.
Not to mention millions and millions of dollars worth of yummy Tim Hortons Tim Biebs.
How do you plan to stay grounded?
It's crazy. There's a lot of people that have basically train wrecked, as you said. But I just have so many people surrounding me that are just great people.
Number 3, Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos is the founder of one of the Big Five, or one of the most famous technology giants on the planet.
Where did you get an idea for Amazon.com?
Well, 3 years ago, I was in New York City working for a quantitative hedge fund when I came across the startling statistic that web usage was growing at 2,300% a year.
Between 2017 and 2021, Bezos was the richest man in the world. The top spot has since been nabbed by Elon Musk as of 2022. But back in June of 1997, when this interview took place, Amazon.com was still only selling books, and Bezos was just a guy with a vision of the future of online retail.
And so when you have that many items, you can literally build a store online that couldn't exist any other way.
This was also just 1 month after Amazon went public at $18 per share. We'll give you a moment to imagine how much money you could have if you had bought a stock in the company back then.
In the first year of opening Amazon.com to the public, we didn't do any paid advertising, and all of our growth was fueled by word of mouth and media exposure.
Number 2, Leonardo DiCaprio. When people talk about Leonardo DiCaprio before he was famous, they usually reference his recurring character on Growing Pains in the early 90s.
Prove it!
But for this interview from E, we go back to even before Luke Brower, to DiCaprio's turn as Gary Buckman in the short-lived series Parenthood, based on the hit 1989 film.
I hope everyone out there will watch it, including my 2 favorite actors, Joe Pesci and Jack Nicholson.
It doesn't get much cuter than a young Leo smiling from ear to ear as he talks about how excited he was to get the part and how much he loves the attention.
How'd you feel when you found out that you got it?
I was in my dad's friend's house, and it was built for a jockey, so it was really the walls were really short. And when I got the phone call, I jumped up and my fist went through the ceiling. I was so happy.
About 7 years later, Titanic would hit theaters and DiCaprio would have all the attention he could ever want, and probably a whole lot he didn't want too.
I like the attention, I must admit, I like the attention.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1, Lady Gaga.
If you ain't Gaga already, you're gonna be Gaga after this interview, baby. That's what we're talking about.
Guess who opened for the New Kids on the Block during their 2008 tour? That's right, Lady Gaga. It was just after the release of her first album, The Fame, and just when she was starting to blow up as her track Just Dance was rising up the charts.
We don't have any money. We're not famous. There's no paparazzi chasing us. But when we walk down the street, people wonder who we are. And that's that inner fame.
It was also when the first question in most interviews, and we here at WatchMojo were no exception, had to do with the origin of her name.
From the Queen song Radio Gaga. All we hear is Radio Gaga.
As famous as she was then, it was nothing compared to the fame monster she would later become. You might say that it was around this time that a star was born.
Live your life as if you would die if you were forbidden to make music. And if you do that, you will get your song played on the radio.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.